Hey, it's Tina Forsyth here. So I have a question. Are you running your business in reactive mode or proactive mode? There is a night and day difference between the two. And this is actually something I talk about in my book, The Entrepreneur's Trap, page 14. To be specific, for those of you who have a copy of the book, it's one of the very first things I talk about in here, because at the end of the day, the way you run your business is really going to make or break you. And what I mean by this, just to clarify the difference, reactive mode is where you go with the flow, where you just respond, you react to whatever's coming to you. And when I say you, I mean you as the leader of your company, your team members. It's sort of like the business as a whole is just reacting to what comes your way, right? It's like, oh my gosh, this popped up, that popped up, there's this here, there's this there, whereas proactive mode is more a matter of being able to, first and foremost, decide on what's going to happen. So, looking 3 steps ahead, being able to really say, okay, here's what's coming down the pipeline. We can, because we've made decisions on what we want to accomplish and on what needs to be done, quite often. Also too, because you're not, maybe getting into bright, shiny object syndrome and changing your mind and, going back and forth on stuff like that. When you're able to really plan ahead, you get to be in proactive mode. You and your team are much more able to say, here's what's coming down the pipeline. Right? And then you're able to, I love the way my business manager, Tiffany, said this once, is that, if you go to bed at night, not knowing what you're doing the next day, you're in reactive mode. If you go to bed at night, and you get up in the morning and you know what's on your plate, you're already clear as to what's on your plate, right? That means you're in proactive mode, and that's for both you and your team members as well. And really the thing is, at the end of the day, most, if not all of us, have started our businesses in reactive mode, right? So if you find yourself in kind of that place of like, back and forth, almost like a bag in the wind sometimes, right? Depending on whichever way the wind goes is going to determine where you land that day. Just know that you're not alone, first and foremost, because every business starts in reactive mode. When you are newer to your business, and even if it's been a while for you, right? When you're new to your business and when you first started your business, you have to be in reactive mode to a degree. You really need to be able to respond to what comes to you. That's part of being able to grow and start a business, is being able to pay attention to what's coming your way and respond to what people want and don't want and so on. But the kind of mistake, if you will, or the issue that many entrepreneurs run into is that once they're past startup mode, once they're into growth mode, in a business. And what I mean by growth mode is that, okay, you have a proven business model, you know what you're selling, you know what people want to buy, etc. You want to build on that foundation. If you stay in reactive mode past that point, that's where this becomes really painful. That's where it becomes painful. And there's a couple of things to note about reactive mode. First and foremost, it is much easier. It is a heck of a lot more tiring and draining to be in reactive mode, but at the end of the day, it is much, much easier, because planning ahead, looking forward, making decisions on what you will or won't do, etc., and what's coming down the pipeline is actually a very tough thing in a lot of ways, right? It is a lot easier to just stay in reactive mode. It can also feel good enough, right? So if you are in reactive mode and you're kind of like, this is fine, I can live with it, it's not that big a deal, I'm making good enough money, etc. It can be very tempting to stay in from that perspective. It can actually be a lot of fun too. I believe reactive mode and, being in chaos, and especially if you're someone who thrives on like, all right, woohoo, let's jump in and see what happens today, and I'm going to save the day, or I don't know what's coming up, it's all going to be a big surprise. If you thrive on that, just know for yourself that being in reactive mode might actually be feeding you a little bit. I dare say it's addictive for some people, right? And I have to say from personal experience for me, like I really love solving problems. I love jumping into chaos and fixing it and making it better. And, in some cases, I love saving the day for people and such as well. But at the end of the day, you can only grow so far when you're in reactive mode and when you operate your business from that way, right? And at a certain point in time, it will become draining too. So like any, addiction, if you will, it might be fun. It might actually feed you in a lot of ways, but in the long run, it's not going to be healthy. It's not going to be healthy for your business, you or your team. And likewise, I want you to know too that reactive mode really affects your team members. If you are someone as the leader of your company who is just go with the flow, I don't know what we're doing tomorrow yet, we did this and now we'll decide, or I changed my mind, I want to do this now, that now, etc. Just know that that is extraordinarily draining for your team. I really want you to understand and embrace that, right? And if your team is scrambling to try to keep up with you and things keep changing and they never know what's coming their way, they're going to really struggle to serve you well. They won't be able to serve you at the highest level possible. really is what it boils down to. So reactive mode or proactive mode? You know, I invite you to consider that for your business, right? I mean, if you are in reactive mode right now, just know it's fixable. By all means, it's fixable, right? But you first and foremost need to recognize it, because ultimately you want to be in a place where, you know, I would say at least 80% of the time, you know what's coming down the pipeline, right? You're able to be kind of 80% proactive, 20% reactive. There's always an element of it there. But if it's the other way around, where you're 80% reactive and all of that, it's really gonna hamper. Is that the right word? It's gonna get in the way of your growth. I'm not sure if I was using that word correctly, but it will. It'll get in the way of the growth of your business. It'll get in the way of your enjoyment, and it'll get in the way of your team supporting you. So until next time, it's Tina Forsyth here. Take care, everyone. Bye now.